I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Just over 2 weeks away from Wrestlemania 36 and no longer Tampa, Monday Night Raw comes to you live from the Performance Center, the first of its kind. But if you guys are watching NXT and SmackDown, you know exactly what it is. Yo, it's your boy Flobo, and it's Wrestlemania season. I'm broadcasting live from my apartment in Culver City, California.
Yes.
It's going to be a hot show, but before we get to all of that, we got to introduce our all-star panel. I got to say this. He's either further away than I am, all the way from Redondo Beach, giving up with the voice of AEW Dynamite, Jack Farmer.
What's up? Coming to you live from us DJs. Call it the lab, but I guess I call it the.
Hey, for that backdrop? What is that about?
It's a green screen.
Yeah. Also, the king of AfterBuzz, but now residing in Studio City. Give it up for Jim Alexander.
Listen, for many of you wonder where things go down, where the King's Court is. These are the lights that illuminate the King's Court. I might even pan to my bed later on for those of you who stay tuned.
So
No,
you guys
don't have a black light on that one.
Definitely not.
Could be a family show. For those of you who are watching the Monday Night Raw after show, we had Heel Night last week and they kicked us out, put us in quarantine. But it's okay because it's March 16th, 316 day. Those overall thoughts about, I guess, the show and the WrestleMania announcement that's going to be at the Performance Center, guys.
The show was awesome. I mean, there's a lot of, in case you didn't see the Royal Rumble 3 weeks ago, you can see it all again tonight. You saw what it's like. Basically, for all those of you who wonder what it's like to be an actor and self-tape, this was tonight, wrestlers self-taping themselves, because it was like they were talking to a mirror. I thought it was the most disastrous thing I've seen ever in wrestling. In a sense that, not necessary to blame it to them, but if this is a concept they're going to keep on rolling out, I'd rather not watch this, and I'd rather not have this air, because it's just painful to watch in every sense. I mean, for what we know, this industry is bred on crowd reactions and big, everything grand. This was, listen, man, this is like me in my apartment here. There's more energy and excitement in that show tonight, Jack.
Yeah, it's, I'll be honest. There was definitely some tough parts of this show. I give it a pass. Obviously, things are out of their control, but I'll be honest. The thing that stood out to me, and the thing that really excited me about this episode is there were people that got it. And I don't want to jump ahead because Flobo, you're the moderator, and I'm going to let you take us to those spots when we get there. But there were moments where I think they can make this work for the short term, and I think they can make things happen. They definitely got to do things differently than how they did it tonight, but I actually saw hope for getting by this way. It's obviously not ideal, but I see some hope in how they can make this work for the next couple of weeks.
Jack, there's bad luck around you. There's a black cat in the background, man. I'm seeing black cats coming in.
Oh, that's Batman. That's my cat. Batman, where'd he go?
Yeah.
He was there. He made an appearance.
It's a tape delay. So I look down onto the YouTube screen, he's still there. But when I look behind me, he's not. It sounds very much like a scary movie.
Speaking of ominous tales, tonight's show starts off with Edge basically going along the lines of saying, "Hey man, Randy Orton, I was going to retire. Beth came out to retire for me, but you got her involved." And I like the little dimension of the whole class warfare thing, no silver spoons. But is this what we need for our story now, or is it because of what's going on in the real world that this doesn't really need much more development, Jim?
I don't think, listen, the build has been for most of these feuds, whichever feuds that we've been seeing for a while, those have been established well already. And even the one that was kind of, the most recently put together, Undertaker and AJ Styles, that's already sold. So I don't think in terms of feuds, we need more selling, because I think a lot of them already have been established and done well in a lot of ways. Besides, I don't know what you do with Bailey or whatever that doesn't even matter because it's Bailey. But on most of the feuds, I'm telling you, it's already established. So no, that's true. So they're good with that. As far as the build, they literally could go dark for the next 2 weeks and it would be fine, because I think all the stories have been built up to a point where we know what's at stake and we know what's on the line. So I'm good with that.
Jack?
What was that? It cut out for a second.
I was like, Jack, what do you think?
Just the build. We're talking about Becky. I'm sorry.
We're talking about Edge and Randy Orton. You know,
He's on a
Edge
20-minute tape delay. Okay.
Edge and Randy Orton. This is actually, I thought Edge did a great job with this promo, and the reason I thought he did a good job is he didn't act like he was playing to a crowd that wasn't there. I like that he spoke like he was speaking to Randy Orton. I like that he was speaking quietly and very methodically, because he wasn't trying to act like there was a crowd there. He changed the way he presented, and I think that's why, in my opinion, this worked, and it was one of the best promos of the night.
There's many.
I mean, fair. But I do think that I agree with Jim in the sense that this feud is built. They're ready to go. I'm ready to see it. Even rewatching the Rumble, which I think was kind of a smart move, and again, we'll talk about that later. But seeing Edge eliminate Orton again was kind of a reminder of like, hey, these guys, like, ever since the minute Edge came back, there was some issues with these two.
So let's talk about this now. The Men's World Rumble got replayed in its entirety, taking about an hour and 15 minutes with commercials. At first, I kind of groaned. I was like, "Oh man, for real? Like, we're stopping the whole show for this?" But there's a lot of things I want to pull from, but namely that there's some story beats that gets kind of lost in the shuffle. Jack Farmer, I saw you on Twitter saying, "Hey, look, I understand Ricochet's development a little bit thanks to watching in replay." Thoughts about Ricochet's involvement, thoughts about the match, and thoughts about the Royal Rumble being replayed.
Yeah, well, going to Ricochet again, it was kind of a quick reminder of Ricochet helped cause Brock Lesnar's elimination, meaning the match in Saudi Arabia kind of made sense. And I think, I know Heyman had mentioned a few times, but just overall, I think we got to give a little credit to it's always so easy to talk about how creative in WWE is bad or there's issues with it. Sometimes I think we need to give them some credit. I think that was a good continuation of something that built in the Rumble. And I mean, we already saw the Rumble tonight or before, and seeing it again tonight, it was a rerun. At the end of the day, a rerun is a rerun, but I was actually really impressed with the number of things that I was seeing in the Rumble that are still playing out through Mania, even though, again, it's easy to criticize and say things are happening willy-nilly, but there were things I was seeing that was like, oh, yeah, that's right, this did happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's a lot of things too. I like to see how both Keith Lee and Big E got some shine against Brock Lesnar, which I totally forgot about. Like, if they ever had decided to do like a Big E program, not saying it would work right now, but it wouldn't be totally far-fetched. Shayna Baszler, I know it's a very part of the show, watching the Royal Rumble again. Did you pull anything new from it, seeing a second time, or just kind of all a wash?
Yeah. I was eating Funyuns and had some chocolate, and I made some food. I finished cooking my chicken soup, world famous Jim's chicken soup. Oh yeah, and then I came in, it was still going. No, I didn't learn anything from it. I mean, this is filler time. Filler time. I don't need to see this again. I know what it's about. I know what happened. I mean, if they wanted to do a recap show, a rewind show, cool, but they try to mix it in to fill in time. I just thought that was like, if you've seen it, there's no reason to take a look at it again. I have better things to do. I mean, I haven't been in quarantine that long for me to have to rewatch this.
Fine.
I do want to say real quick, if I can jump in regarding the Royal Rumble, though. Again, I was blown away by how good Brock Lesnar was at making so many people look good. Thinking back to Keith Lee, the facial reactions as Keith Lee was coming out, and then when Keith Lee like rammed him and sort of knocked him back, and Brock really gave a lot of credit to guys like Keith Lee and Big E, and I think he did a great job, even though he squashed a lot of guys in the process because that was the story that was being told. He actually made a lot of guys look pretty good, I thought.
Oh yeah, I
as just a reminder. I mean, again, this is months old, but whatever. let's talk about it. We got 40 minutes.
Well, let's talk about WrestleMania, man. 2 weeks from now, going to be live at the Performance Center. I know if the hand was forced, there's not much they can do about the move. It was like it was voluntary at all, but my heart breaks for Rhea Ripley having her first WrestleMania moment being in the empty arena of the Performance Center. Jim Alexander, thoughts about this feud and where it goes from now and the scale of having this match being cut off at the knees?
I'm checking my temperature to make sure it's all good. You know what? It's Rhea Ripley. You're worried about Rhea Ripley?
I am.
Oh, by the way, it is 97.8. I'm perfectly fine. But you know what's boiling? I'm boiling right now because here's the thing. This temperature doesn't matter. I'm feeling fine. But what's not feeling fine is what the hell are we doing here? Let's be honest here. Might as well come to my apartment, WWE. April 5th, I have no one coming over, so you can come out and put on a show here or at the Planet Fitness. Apparently, it's closing down because that joint cannot hold a WrestleMania. Straight up, did you guys watch what this was? I mean, it was like someone's Flobo. If we combine our 3 apartments, we could have WrestleMania right there, man. Jack's got
because it's the same amount of fans. You can have 0 fans at the airport.
We've got 3
you
more
can't
fans
do
than they do.
WrestleMania. You can't do WrestleMania with no crowd. You can pull out maybe a SmackDown or a Raw, but when you're talking about WrestleMania, the whole point of WrestleMania, it's not about the match. It's about the spectacle. It's about how grand it could be. The crowds, record-breaking crowds. That's why they took it out from small stadiums. LA and Chicago hasn't seen a WrestleMania since 21 and 22. Why? Okay. That's over almost 15 years. Why? Because the whole point of WrestleMania is to make it a Super Bowl like.
So what do you suggest then, Jim? You can't do it with. What do you suggest? What do you
got to do something.
I suggest moving this. That everyone would agree that you got to delay this event. And here's the thing: I'm telling you, this is ego coming into play. This is ego about being the only show in town. This is the ego like, well, we're going to do a show. We don't care about whatever's going on in the world. You're not worried about the workers. You're not worried about, you are touching each other. This is pro wrestling. People are touching each other. It's not, if the NFL and NBA can get away, and these are like worldwide companies, and we're talking about the major leagues of everything, and WWE it has too much of an ego to step away and reschedule this for a couple months down the road. This could be done. Why not introduce a WWE offseason? This would be a perfect time right now to go put on, repeats and let these guys rest for a bit and heal up and not put them in danger. I don't care if there's 10 or 20 or 50 in a crowd. If you're touching each other, it's not right. I mean, we're banning people from going to the theater and grocery stores, and they're going to put on a show. I just think it's completely just ego driven in that sense, and this show should not be happening now.
Jack, what do you think?
I mean, I totally get, Jim, what you're saying, and I think from a logical standpoint, from a human standpoint, you got to agree, or I got to agree.
But from an Android standpoint.
But from an Android standpoint, no, I mean, look, the WWE is a corporation, and it has shareholders, and a corporation's only job is to make money for shareholders. And if you're the person running that corporation and you're seeing declines in subscriptions for the network, and you tell them, and they say, why are we getting declines? And you say, oh, well, we canceled another show. Shareholders don't care what happens. Shareholders don't care that this is going on. If you're a shareholder,
Jack, every major corporation, the NBA and MLB are 10 times bigger corporations than WWE is. Okay, and if they're going on hiatus, and if they can go away, and if we're having, listen, there's San Francisco shutting down, okay, right now.
We're talking about. You're talking about from a human standpoint. I'm talking about from the company. Again, I agree with you. I think
but all the other companies are following suit. Why do you have to be an outlier? Why do you have to be the one always? Listen, this is not the first time. People have literally had tragic accidents happen and the show went on. Okay, let's look at the history here. I'm not going to be kissing ass or anything right now. I'm going to speak the damn truth. And it's been in the DNA. It's been in their history that they go on no matter what. There's this, and take my point. Have you heard the word coronavirus on tonight's broadcast? No. They were acting like it's not, like it's like they're just like, well, we're just moving an event. They didn't even acknowledge what's going on in the world. I thought that was completely shameful for them to not even acknowledge why you're at the Performance Center. Well, due to circumstances. Well, tell us why. Just tell us forward and be transparent with us that we all know what's going on. But why are you avoiding? Like, there's literally a mandate. I'm guessing that there's no mention of coronavirus being said.
I wouldn't either.
Are we in oblivion here or something?
Wait, hold on, Jim. I was with you for a while, but I started this show. I didn't use that word either because the last thing you want to hear is the same word here everywhere else. We're entertainment, escapism.
They owe it to explain fully and acknowledge the situation that's going on in real life and why they're moving it. For them to avoid it and be just like, well, due to circumstances, what circumstances? Like, you're going to avoid talking about, I don't care. You can't avoid coronavirus anywhere you go. You're hearing the name, but for them to not even acknowledge that's the reason, I think it's more of a thing where we're not going to even mention that because we're above that for some reason. I just think it was noticeable and it felt very weird and awkward and just honestly, it felt in bad taste for them not to even mention that, acknowledge the reason of what's going on and the situation that's facing every person in this world.
Okay, so the Raw episode aside, you're saying that if it was up to you, you would just delay, cancel, postpone WrestleMania.
No, not canceled. I think it's too big of a show to cancel it. But you can certainly move it, like the NBA and all these other big, sports industries are moving it to whatever. To June. I mean, you can't tell me they can't freeze things or just, of course they can. They just don't want to rewrite scripts apparently, or that.
You're assuming that this is going to be over in June. We don't know. I mean,
we don't know. But here's the thing: NBA doesn't know.
Whenever.
None of these other sports franchises and leagues don't know, but they are postponing things till further notice. Why can't everyone's followed suit besides WWE? Straight up.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with you, Jim, but I also understand that if you're a company where your main product is live event businesses, you can't get those gate sales anymore, the least you could do is try to recruit something on the back end as far as like international.
What are you going to recruit? You have no people. You have no merch that's selling.
I think the other side of it too. The other side of it too, though, also is I try to look at the other human side of it, and as Flobo I think is alluding to, is there's cameramen who need to get paid. There's people who work at venues that need to get paid, and even though it's not everybody, there is a level of something beyond just the wrestlers and the millionaires that are part of the company. There are people who are everyday people, blue collar people who are probably loving the fact that they're still getting a check right now. Again, I think from a human standpoint, we all say, yeah, this should probably be closed down, but I think it is a human
standpoint. It is a human standpoint. That's what it is. I mean, we're not even in AfterBuzz right now, okay? AfterBuzz doesn't even, want to have a live show. That's telling you a lot of things. I mean, everyone's closing down, okay? And for them to be the only thing that's really open and going is just, it's not a good outlier. It's not a good look. I mean, corporate, we're going to be fighting for corporations, really? And I know these nerds are talking about stuff, whatever, online. It doesn't matter what they're saying. You just sanitize and stay in your basements like you always do. It's nothing new for you guys. But I'm talking about the rest of the population where this is affecting in such a place where right now wrestling is not at a forefront. It's not the most important thing going on. I know we're doing this show and all, but there's real issues, people not being able to get toilet damn paper, okay? Because things are going on. This is a serious issue worldwide. And for them to just be like, the show goes on, the gates, and that doesn't matter right now. Everything supersedes this.
I just want to move on, but I just want to thank everyone for tuning in to this edition of the Monday Raw After Show on AfterBuzz TV. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let's talk about something that we've seen a lot of the past couple of weeks. Rey Mysterio had a match against Andrade for the fifth time in, I think, 7 weeks or some kind of like a combination of that. Jack Farmer, I know is your favorite match of the night. Walk me through this. Rey Mysterio gets the win.
Now, this is one, if you're going to show this is a match they could have pre-taped because we've seen it probably 5 or 6 times in the past 6 months. So to me, this is where I would get on the bandwagon of why are we even doing this? Why are we even bringing these two guys in to have a match that we've seen 100 times and it doesn't really go anywhere? If you're going to do something like this, at least give us something we haven't seen before, even if it's not a huge, even if it was Rey Mysterio versus Cedric Alexander or Rey Mysterio versus Ricochet or whoever, at least then it's new if you're going to bring these two guys in, but you bring these two guys in and create the risk for something that we've already seen not once, but a lot, like every single week for the past few months. To me, that was really stood out as a bad move on my part. That was a bad move in my opinion there.
Oh, that was the bad move for you. That was the bad move. Seeing an irrelevant match was a bad move. Not yet holding. Look at that. Hey, I can't wait for this WrestleMania to be hearing referees calling out calls and wrestlers calling out moves. Yo, headlock coming up. This is going to be, how can we watch this? I mean, this was, honestly, it's unwatchable because wrestling's not supposed to be viewed this way. okay, for all these reasons. And especially you're talking about WrestleMania. Maybe they can pull off 1 or 2 shows like this. You're going to tell me they're going to come on week in and week out and pull this, rewinds and all these things? You can't even have people in the same building. What is it now, like 50 people, or even they're limiting the amount of people? The empty seats were just not only eerie, but it was just uncomfortable to watch this. The wrestlers, you saw how off Edge looked. He stumbled and stuttered and looked away. No one knew how to project this because it's so unnatural to be talking to a little gymnasium with no one there. And you're literally pulling stuff out of your ass trying to perform. I mean, credit to the workers for trying to make something out of nothing, but you cannot put this out every week and expect this to go over, because this is not watchable. That's why this should be put in pause. Can you imagine WrestleMania of all shows? We're going to be doing this in a gymnasium? I mean, come on, guys. What's going on here? What are we doing?
What I don't know. I just figure I was enthralled with your promo here. Look, I get what you're saying, and it goes back to that. It is kind of interesting to watch these shows with NXT having a crowd, SmackDown and Raw not having a crowd in such a small area. Again, I hope they're doing some sort of testing on their end, because I know if you have the entire WrestleMania roster in a room, that will probably exceed those limits. A pausing WrestleMania or pausing wrestling will make sense, but I got a feeling personally of some guy who's not an insider, not in the business, and their operating expenses, they're bleeding money. To even have these shows without a crowd, without a gate, I don't want to be in their financial room right now at all. But we're going to move on, though. Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch get some more development. The man comes out, cuts to the promo to a crowd of 0. I got you, Jim. I know that you're Becky's best fan, but is there any time left? Is the built a little bit more for Shayna Baszler, or is Shayna Baszler's character development pretty much a lock for WrestleMania?
It's a lock. I mean, what else is there going to be at this point? This is what's happening, right?
I just ask questions, man.
This is what's happening. I mean, listen, this feud, like I talked about it last week, it's nothing in comparison to Charlotte and Rhea. You know, it's way behind. And I feel for a lot of things, because Becky can do her part and make it seem important and big. In that point, you know, and we can't expect Baszler to carry it because she's not a talker. So it's all on Becky. And we're seeing this shtick of whatever she's trying to pull, that, you know, her promos just don't make sense. They just, if you listen to them, they don't make sense. She plays the underdog, and then right away she props herself up as a legend. What is it? You know, and that's why it's so inconsistent. I can't buy this feud. On paper, it should be a really good feud and match, but it's not, because I'm not buying the promos, because it's Becky can't carry her weight.
You know, we've said a few weeks in a row now that Becky is someone who maybe something says too much or comes out too often or is overexposed, but today felt like the right time to have her cut a promo, even if it was for nothing, because it's kind of a scary time for a lot of people. It's a depressing time for a lot of people. And Becky has a lot of fans, and there's a lot of people who look up to Becky. And I think it was a really good idea to, even if it's just for people to see her doing her thing, I think that was a good thing. I think it gave a chance for a lot of people who are fans of hers to escape for a second and to just be fans for a little bit, even if it was just a promo to an empty room. I think this was a promo that probably made a lot of people feel a little bit better, even if just for a little bit of time.
Yeah, I think Becky Lynch did double duty once there and later on that night during the 316 segment, which I was kind of disappointed that stuff wasn't peppered in throughout the show about all the awesome moments or whatever. But we got Stone Cold coming out, cutting a promo to literally nothing before getting Byron Saxton involved. Byron Saxton, the most underappreciated man in the commentary team. Jack Farmer, walk me through this. Bringing back Stone Cold on 316 day.
So much stuff I want to say about this. First off, I just want to touch on seeing all the old memories of Stone Cold. Just reminds me of how great he was, man. I popped again when I got to see him beat up McMahon in the hospital, hit him with the bedpan. But Byron Saxton, award of the night, man. You could tell that was not his wheelhouse. That was not his thing, but he took one for the team to be that guy that had to get the stunner. You know what I mean? Like, it was cool. Like, I don't know how he is off camera and stuff, but to me, it felt very much like that was not something he wrote up. That was not a script he wrote, but he went with it. He did it. He gave it his all, and it was seeing Stone Cold hit the stunner is always a cool thing to see. So I absolutely love it. And Byron Saxton, you get the award of the night.
Lead the week, Jim Alexander.
Which is a very big honor. He's very excited.
That's who Byron is. I don't know if you guys have ever seen him. He's the goofy guy. He plays the goofy character. He does it really well. And he was the only one that's you're gonna have Jerry Lawler taking, stunners after having strokes. I mean, come on, And Tom Phillips is just the color guy. I mean, he's the straight man here. He plays it, down the line. So you can't do that. So Byron was the only one, and he always plays that goofy kind of like happy-go-lucky, kind of airhead, role, and he's really good at it. So Byron was obviously the only choice. It's not like they had anyone else to choose from to do it. So kudos to Byron for being a company guy, stepping up and doing stuff that Michael Cole used to do back in the day. This is the Michael Cole kind of shtick and gimmick, if you say. But I just thought Austin was completely wasted. I mean, if that was pitched to me as Steve Austin, I wouldn't be showing up there. Because first of all, I mean, he sold it well because we know he's arguably the best of all time. So he can talk to a broomstick or an empty chair, in which he did really well. But I just think you don't bring Austin after long hiatuses and for special moments for something like this, because he's just too good for this. And especially in a gymnasium with no people there, it's just and the segment was just kind of lame. I mean,
I think they're booked into a corner because I think the Network USA called the whole thing.
No question.
Days,
I mean, they promoted it.
Yeah,
they promoted it, so they had to pull it. Yeah.
And sorry. Also, will be here tonight. He says it's crap. See you next week. I mean, that would be the worst. That's what happens. You're a company guy. You're a professional. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it wasn't the best awesome promo, but I think it was kind of cool editing in a meta way of him saying there's no one in the crowd. What?
Yep.
Becky Lynch has a little beer moment. It says send the crowd home happy. The thing I worry about.
Can I say real quick before you get into the Becky stuff?
Okay.
Byron Saxton was all of us when he was like, "Hell yeah!"
That's true.
I was totally doing that in my living room, and
he got so mad. He's like, "What?"
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that was just.
No, I was actually going to go back there. I was actually going to go there.
Oh,
for sure.
Sorry.
I was going to say, "Hey, look."
I stepped all over your thing. I'm sorry.
Even though Becky came out, I love the fact that Byron Saxton is starting to appreciate it. Got a little time to shine. So that was okay. I know it's about pretty much our entire show. I mean, it wasn't much to write home about. But before we get out of here, Jim Alexander, where can the world find you online, sir?
Well, we're getting out of here already?
Yeah. This was talking about Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, but I feel like.
Well, you know what? Actually, I can say something about Kevin Owens. I was going to say, I think you can do shows if you make them more backstage promo heavy. I mean, but give them actual things to say instead of just generic, like, I'm coming for you. But if you give them some actual development stuff to do, you can sell more promos and you can develop more characters that way. Because those are the things we always talk about. We got to get guys like Ricochet more character development and things. Now's the time. Let's film him, have him record something at home. Let's see how interesting he is. This is the time to shine. People can record at home, send it in. I mean, not to evoke the AEW name, but you look at things like the Young Bucks, they record stuff, and all these guys, Sammy Guevara is recording stuff to get themselves over. Darby Allin gets himself over doing stuff by recording stuff at home and putting it up. Now is the time. We could have all these people recording things themselves. Use that time to put that up. Put these people over that way. And they don't need to be in front of crowds. And we can learn who they are and invest in them as people beyond just coming out and getting, squashed by Eric Rowan or whatever the thing is.
That's assuming they're creative enough and entertaining enough and can talk. Okay, not everyone can pull promos like Velveteen Dream, okay, with the cell phone. That's giving too much credit to guys who are uncomfortable talking. I mean, there's been even talk of MVP coming in to be a talking figure for a lot of wrestlers because they're just not comfortable on a mic. That's a major problem. This company, you see a lot of people who are still uncomfortable on a mic, who are put out there every week, and that development needs to happen. It just doesn't happen within. I mean, sure, you can attempt things, but will it be entertaining? I mean, I don't know if it will do more damage than good on that end. But if something,
is it going to be worse than tonight? I mean,
huh?
Listen,
this is going to be dark times when it comes to WWE. I mean, we're coming in to times where I mean, they're trying to put in content that's just not there, right? They're trying to make something out of nothing. And that's tough. Like, they are making it really hard for themselves. For, I don't know, and what's the payoff in the end? You're going to have a lackluster, a very probably going to go down as the worst WrestleMania, not because of the matches performance, because the aesthetics of it will just be so memorable. You want to like close it out of your memory. Is that worth it all? Is this all worth it then to delay it for a couple months? That's been my point the whole time. I don't care what those nerds say on the chat, you know, trying to hate on me and whatever. Listen, just sanitize your hands and keep quiet. That's what you do good. But let someone who knows speak. And I know what I'm speaking right now because this is about everyone, okay? This is for the wrestlers. It's for the company. This is all, if you don't want to look bad, don't put yourself in a position where you're impossible task to overcome. And that's what they're putting themselves into. And they're going to have to pay for the repercussions of it because I don't see a good result in this.
Okay. Do you want to end the show on a positive note with the King's Court?
No.
Before we get out of here? All right, there we go. All right, there we go, everyone.
Give me my King's Court.
You had your chance. You said no. You had a chance. Hello, everyone. My name is Flobo Boyce. Thank you so much for listening to this edition of Monday Night Raw, the After Show. We'll be back here the same time next week. Jack Farmer, where can the world find you online?
You can find me at jackcfarmer.com as well as at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. You can also check me out on the AEW social media skim every Monday. Filmed one earlier today. Check that out. As well as the AEW Dynamite After Show every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, that'll do it for me. Check me out there.
Where can the world send your hate mail?
Oh. You hear this music? This is what inspires me. Baron freaking Corbin, okay? And you nerds, I don't even want to hear from you really, but you can still reach me at the Jim Alexander. RealTalker.com is the place to be. Subscribe on the Real Talker YouTube. Hey, I'm quarantining myself. I'm still doing all good things. I'm still having visitors and guests. Everything's all good. I showed you my temperature. Hey, and the Performance Center, if it doesn't work out, always one of our places can host WrestleMania.
Okay. If you guys want more positive content, follow me at Flobo Boyce on Twitter, at Flopito on Instagram. Support the homie and buy a t-shirt at flopito.threadless.com. And of course, flopito.com is the website. But until next time, buzz you later.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.